Welcome to the May session. Thank you everybody for joining us. I'm going to assume you can see me, you can hear me, you can see my screen. For those that have been joining us for the last couple of months, if you're interested in keeping up with the game, this month we have the old Teams webinar experience again. So we've reverted clearly back to the old experience, and that's where we're staying, which is good. I'll let you know of the next meeting that I join that the whole thing's changed without warning again. For anyone that this is their first session, welcome. My name's Dan. I'm the Training and Adoption Practice Manager at IComm. And for today's agenda, Sam's going to take us through some Teams tips that you wish you knew earlier. A couple of those hidden things, hidden features, tips and tricks that you might not know about, but they're really helpful time savers and energy savers on your brain. I'm going to take you through the feature roundup, nice and quick fire. We've got a few things to go through on that one. So we'll talk about recent updates and what's coming soon. And Justin's going to take us through some MTR, some Teams meeting room updates. You may or may not know that there is a pretty big update coming for the user interface for Teams rooms. And Justin's going to take you through what that means, what does it look like, and what do you need to do. And then, as usual, we've got question time, open Q&A. We're all here. We've got the answers for what you need. On that, I'm going to mute myself and I'm going to hand over to Sam. I'm not going to do the introduction to Sam. Sam, can you please introduce yourself for those that don't know who you are? And take it away. Take us on your journey.
This is like the third time I've done this, 3 months running. So I hope by this point everybody knows who I am. But for those that don't, my name is Samantha Paul. I'm a business development manager here at IComm. Dan asked me to come up with something and funny and witty about myself, and it took me about 2 weeks to come up with the fact that I own about 20 pairs of shoes and I haven't worn a single pair, much like probably most of the females on the call, haven't worn a single pair of them since COVID. Can't do it anymore. Anyway, I'm here to talk to you today about tips and tricks in Teams. Now, bear with me because some of you may know some of these tips and tricks, but I come across people on a weekly basis that don't know all of them. So I'm going to go through just 5 random ones that I've picked for you. So I'm going to share my screen and I'll talk you through a couple. For this first one, you can be anywhere within Teams. And this first one is the most underrated feature of Microsoft Teams, and that is the search and command bar, which is this bar at the top here. So most of you have probably already used it to, search for like Stuart or whatever like that. You can search for files. I might do another Modern Work Pulse session on how to use search properly within Teams. But what I'm focusing on today is the / commands. So within your command bar, if you type /, it will automatically come up with all of the / commands within Teams. I'm going to talk through the 3, maybe 4 that I use all the time. So / pop will pop out a person's message. So if I pop out Dan, there's Dan's message. I'm going to take it off full screen so you can see. So it'll pop out Dan's Teams message. If I am in, say, a document, let me just find a random document. Or let's just say you're working within a team. Just say you're working within a team, just pretend this is an Excel document and you're busy working and you want to send a message to someone. You don't want to get out of the Excel document, find the message, type the message, then find the team that you're in, find the file, find the Excel document, and go back in and continue working. Way too much. All you need to do is when you're in the document or the team or wherever it is you might be is / chat, space, type the person's name, Stuart, and then type your message and away you go. And then keep working on your Excel document or wherever you are. The other one that you can do or that I use all the time, and again, it's when I'm busy doing something that I tend to use / command. So / call, / call, and then I might go Dan, enter. I'm not going to do it because it'll start calling and I'll put you guys on hold, but / Dan and it'll call Dan. The other really quick one that I will use is if let's just say I'm presenting and I've forgotten to put myself into do not disturb, or I need to take myself out of do not disturb for whatever reason, I can go /DND. That will put me into do not disturb. I can go /available. You don't even have to finish typing it. You can just start typing /AV whatever, and it knows what you're trying to say and it will do it. So I'm going to put myself back into do not disturb so people don't. Those with a keen eye will notice my status isn't actually changing because I'm on a Mac and Macs don't play nice, but you guys are all on Windows, you'll be fine. The next tip I'm going to show you is how to pop out chats. So obviously I already showed you the command /pop, but there's another way to do that. So if I'm having a conversation with, let's just say Stuart, there's a little icon up here and you'll notice it's the same icon in your Outlook. So if you want to pop out your Outlook from the read menu, if you click the same thing, it'll pop the chat out. So I can have all these people's windows. Let's pop James out. I can have all these separate windows popped out. The next one that I'm going to talk you through is quick edit. So I'm just going to go into Dan because he's a safe option. So let's just say I'm typing to someone. Hello. Let's just say I say, hello, Stuart, and I'm like, oh God, no, that's Dan. Rather than, let me move this guy out of the way. Rather than coming up here with my mouse, click on that, edit, blah, 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 blah. What you can actually do, I'm just going to discard that. As soon as you type a message and you send it and go, oh, I've made a mistake, just press the up arrow and it will take you straight back into the message that you just sent rather, and I can change it to Dan. And most of the time you can fix your mistake faster than they've read it. I'm very quick at doing it. So if you make a mistake, up arrow, edit. The next one I'm going to show you through, and I'm going to jump back into the meeting to show you this one. Microsoft are really big on inclusivity and making things more accessible for people. And I know in previous jobs that I have, there's people with hearing impairments and all that sort of stuff. And when you're in a meeting, you know, often they may have hearing aids and stuff like that, but you don't even think about it. So what you can do, and you can do this as an individual, you don't have to let anyone know. You can come into more language and speech, and you can turn on live captions. Now, when you turn on live captions, it's only turning it on for you. So hopefully you can see my captions running along the bottom of my screen. That's it. 5 tips and tricks that will hopefully make your team's usage that much easier.
Very cool. Thank you, Sam. Thank you very much, everyone. Virtual round of applause for Sam. Thank you. Really awkward pausing for a round of applause and then realizing that, oh yeah, there's not going to be any noise. I don't have to wait for that. Yes, thanks for that. All right, are we ready for the feature wrap up? Quick fire. Let's go through a few things. Now, this month there have been a lot of under the hood changes and updates being made. So, you know, there is a laundry list of really techie updates, but again, remember this is a user-focused session. This webinar is all about the end user and what's actually functional for you. So the majority of the actual functional updates are based around Teams this month, which is good. Good to see that that's still being supported and updated. And what's really cool to see about some of these updates is that these are taken from feedback from end users. This is taken from a lot of these feature updates are taken from the user voice forum. So, yeah, kudos to Microsoft for actually taking this on board and making those changes. It may feel sometimes that they're a bit slow with doing it, but it's getting there. It's still a work in progress. All of these features are rolling out for Teams and will also be in Teams 2.0. So it will be feature parity. Firstly is intelligent meeting recap. So anyone with a Teams premium license which we'll talk more about in next month's session. We'll have some more information around Teams Premium licenses for you. So if you've got that Teams Premium license, Intelligent Meeting Recap is a really comprehensive meeting recap experience powered by AI. So it's all built on that ChatGPT basis and all of the AI behind Office 365. And it's designed to help users, catch up, recall, follow up on those sort of really long meetings, not webinars. Webinars aren't long and, tiresome. That's not what we're referring to. But any of those really long-winded meetings with lots of actions and lots of notes and points that come up, this is all going to be recorded and tracked with that Intelligent Meeting Recap. So it provides you with the recording and the transcription playback. So the transcription that Sam showed us earlier will all be plugged in and part of this. So located on a new button called the Recap tab, you can see I've highlighted it up the top there. Under the Recap tab, when that appears in your calendar and the chat app, so if you open this meeting in the chat or if you open it in your Teams calendar, it'll be available to you there. This experience will give you that screenshot that you can see there. So you can see underneath the screen grab of that meeting, you see how there's the people listed there and there's the colored bars like the timeline? That'll show you where those people are individually speaking. So as we were talking about that speaker attribution with the closed captions and the transcript, so you can find, whichever person you are in that list and go to where you were talking to recap on something. As you click on that, on the right-hand side, all of the transcription and the suggested notes will keep track with your timeline. So you don't have to keep scrolling into different sections of that window. The other really cool bit that you can barely see up the top here under content is there's 3 buttons. Let me get my laser pointer. You can see there's these buttons here listed up the top for content. That is suggested content from the meeting or from your files based on this intelligent recap. So if we were talking about a document that was written 2 months ago that I've got in my OneDrive, it'll tag that for me here because it thinks that that's probably relevant. So it's, again, quick access, allowing you to bring things into the meeting notes or grab things out of the meeting notes. You can also do things like I said, there's the suggested notes based on the AI. There's tasks, and you can @mention, and it will also @mention people to try and keep everyone on track. So that's part of Teams Premium, rolling out mid-May. So in the next couple of weeks, we should start seeing this cycling through different tenants. So looking forward to seeing that if you've got a Teams Premium license. The next one we've got is really cool. I really like this. This was one that was taken from a user voice forum about a gazillion times, is collaborative meeting notes. So users within the tenant will see a notes button during a meeting that starts up these new capabilities in collaborative notes. So the meeting notes, as we know them, they'll be shown on the right-hand pane. So on your right-hand side, as you can see there, you click the notes button and then the meeting notes pop up here. So participants can all collaborate on these notes in real time, whether it's creating agendas, it might be just taking meeting notes in minutes, adding tasks, again, @mentioning people. We can all collaborate on these notes together. If you're assigned a task in the meeting, you'll also receive the email notification and it'll be synced with your planner and to-do apps. So it'll all come together. So in a real world scenario, like Stuart, for example, when we're running a weekly pre-sales meeting or the monthly sales or operations meeting, Stuart can start assigning tasks directly in these notes and it will automatically sync to individual planners. So we don't necessarily have to go in and add the planner task or the to-do task manually each time. Again, this is rolling out sometime throughout May, so we should start seeing this come through hopefully in the next week or so. I think this is a really good one. This will be a really well-used feature. So keen to see everyone's feedback on that when they're able to start playing with it. This is a good one. I love this one. Clutter. I hate clutter. I hate mess, and I hate notifications popping up all the time. Did anyone else get the itches when Sam shared her screen and we saw that she had 43 unread emails in her mail button? It bothers me. My mum is notorious for having like 300 unread emails or text messages, and it it really just aggravates something inside my brain. This is a really good one from a Teams point of view that gets rid of that. So if you're one of those people that gets lots of activity tagged to you or in different channels and different teams, what you can do is in your activity button, your activity feed up the top, if you click on the ellipsis and you get the drop-down menu, there'll now be an option for mark all as read. So this can be a really handy way of going about clearing that sort of notification list, clearing that clutter. And I guess really look at it from a sense of being able to triage what's important, what's not important from a notifications point of view. I might have 50 new notifications in my activity feed, so I can kill all 50 of them as read and then pick the 4 that will actually be relevant for me to catch up on. Thank you, Sam. Thank you for clearing those notifications. Yeah, clear your clutter. Sorry, I got distracted by my own satisfaction there that Sam has cleared her inbox. Wonderful. Yes, and you can set them to turn on by default, Georgia. So Georgia's put a screen grab there for the captions, backtracking on the previous topics. Anyone an audio geek? Just me? Cool. Me and James Bruce. All right. Spatial audio. It's a thing everywhere else in the audio and music world, and now it's finally in Teams. Now, there's a couple of caveats to this. For those that don't understand what spatial audio is, the super quick explanation is when you put a pair of headphones on, you've got left and right. It's as simple as that. That's stereo, right? Spatial audio is that virtual ability to create, or sorry, it's the ability to create a virtual soundstage. So as a car drives past, its ability for the sound to follow that. So it'll go from right to left. Anyone that's got an Apple Music subscription will notice that there's a lot of music coming out now in spatial audio. Again, Apple users, if you've got AirPods, that's one of the standard features on the AirPods or the Pros, I think. So as you move your head, the audio stays at its source so you can, hear it from a different point. So spatial audio is a really cool thing. And it's coming to Teams in the sense of having that virtual soundstage of speakers, right? So think of it in the sense of I might have a meeting room where there's 5 speakers in a row, and each speaker will now have their own virtual space. So I can really get a different feeling and a different sense of being more connected to that meeting. So it'll allow for this way more immersive meeting experience remotely. And it does make conversations feel much more natural. The caveat is that you have to have a wired stereo headset. So you have to have a Teams certified wired stereo headset, or if you are one of the evil few of us that use Apple equipment, if you're running a MacBook or an iMac, your AirPods will function exactly the same way. But for the Windows majority, that's the caveat, wired stereo headset. And this will be rolling out late May. So expected in the last week of May, rolling forward. Turned on under devices, under your settings. So select your appropriate headset. And then if it's applicable, you can turn on spatial audio. So if you've got all of the ticks in the boxes, give it a go. It does actually make things feel a lot more natural and immersive, like you're in the meeting room. Good fun for when we're still in this hybrid state. This one's rolled out already, and I think it's a long overdue feature, the automatic hand lowering. So as you raise your hand to ask a question, what happens now is that Teams will detect when you have spoken, and when you finish speaking, it will raise your hand. So you'll get that pop-up that shows there. We've noticed that you've spoken, lowering your hand in a few seconds. So you've got the option to keep it raised, or it will automatically lower your hand. So it keeps, I guess this is all about helping the presenter stay focused and stay in the flow of the conversation, rather than, did I answer your question? Great. Oh, sorry. Did you still have a question? You've still got your hand raised. It can be distracting for the presenter. So this is a really cool feature to be able to do that automatically. It is rolled out already. It's currently rolling out. Most tenants that I've seen or most customers I've spoken to do have this, and it works really, really well. I haven't seen it be buggy yet. It's pretty accurate, and it's only for desktop. Sorry. Here's one to save everybody's ears: feedback loop detection. How many times have you walked into a meeting room, joined a meeting, or sat next to someone and joined a meeting on your laptop speakers and microphone, and you get that horrible feedback howl? Yeah, we've all done it. We've all done it. So what happens now is that automatically Teams will detect multiple audio devices that are close by each other. So if I'm sitting next to Georgia and we've both joined that same meeting, Teams will detect that and give me this pop-up and tell me, I've muted you. It's going to create a feedback howl, and I've turned that off. You've got the option to unmute your mic and speakers. I would give you the strong suggestion that if it's giving you that pop-up and told you, don't unmute it, because you're going to create some noise there. So it eliminates what's technically called an ultrasound howl. It's that feedback loop, that squeal. So no more of those headaches. Yeah, automatically mutes you, gives you the option to switch it back on if you need to, and is rolling out now. Have seen it in a couple of updates, but not with everybody just yet. All good? Excellent. A couple of final updates. I've got a couple of coming soons. This is an exciting one. This makes me sort of jump around and jitter a little bit. The big bad world of Viva is growing and becoming more and more functional by the day, and I love this one. Viva Pulse. Has anyone heard of Viva Pulse yet? Can I excite you all if you haven't heard about it? So Viva Insights, being the, I guess, the statistical analysis tool around how people are working. So all of the data that's pulled from Office 365 and Microsoft 365 world. It's good, hard data. But that doesn't give me a sense of everybody's sentiment. It's not an employee experience platform in the sense of getting feedback, right? That's where Viva Pulse comes in. So Viva Pulse is all about anonymous staff feedback. It's regular pulse surveys and pulse checks on your team. It's based on smart templates, so it's super easy to set up and customize to what you need. And what this is all around being able to, I guess, empower managers to get day-to-day feedback from their team on projects or on team dynamics, on sentiment around workplace well-being, giving you the ability to react quicker or preempt a potential problem or an issue or a trend that you're not happy seeing go up or down. So using the templates and a lot of research-backed questions and analytics, Viva Pulse gives your team that voice that you can marry up with the data from Viva Insights, and you put it together, pick those trends, and analyze all of that data and continue growing that employee culture, the workplace culture, and continue to improve the workplace experience. So I'm really excited about this. We'll start seeing previews coming out late June to July. This used to be Glint. If anyone knows the Glint product, this is the Viva rebadging of Glint. So if you've already got Glint or you're familiar with using it, this is going to behave the same way, just with Viva badging and native to Teams. So really excited to see this one come to fruition. And yeah, can't wait to get our hands on it and see how it comes together, and goes hand in hand with our other coming soon, which is some more detail in Viva Insights. So Viva Insights now has an automated auto categorization meeting filter. So anyone that's got the Insights Premium license and has played with reporting in Viva Insights knows that one of the better insights that you can get is to see how staff are spending their time in meetings, right? You can see the graph around long and large meetings and the percentage of people's time that takes up. What we've done here is gone one step further with Viva Insights and taken that to automatically categorize those meeting types based on a few things. We can categorize by meeting size, by meeting cadence or regularity, and how many people in those meetings. So those filters are already built in and separated into separate reports, or you can bring that all into that one graph that we have seen. So the ETA on these updates is late May, early June. So if you've got a Viva Insights Premium license, yeah, look out for this one. It is going to make analyzing that meeting data a whole lot more accurate and give you some deeper insights into how your team are working and spending their time. Okay, so if that's the end of me, I'm going to hand over now to Justin. And again, I'm not going to do the introduction to Justin. He can introduce himself. Ladies and gentlemen, Justin O'Mara.
Thanks, Dan. Welcome everybody. It's my first time this year anyway on the Modern Pulse. Anyway, I am the pre-sales engineer or consultant at IComm, so I'm the technical person here and have been at IComm for over 15 years now. So gone through all of the iterations of Microsoft Voice and meeting rooms from Link to Sky for Business, and now heavily involved in Teams meetings and Teams Voice. So if you have any questions today, please feel free to whack them in the chat, go off mute, put your virtual hand up. Any of the above I will respond to and have plenty of time to answer any of those. But I am going to try to keep it user focused because that's what Dan has asked. So without further ado, let's get on to what we're going to talk about today, which is Teams Rooms. So there's a few updates to Teams Rooms, and there's two types of Teams Rooms. So without getting too technical, there's Teams Rooms on Windows and Teams Rooms on Android. And one of the main differences was the look and feel up until recently. So on the left here is a Teams room on Windows, and this is the default look and feel that is out today. Is the default look and feel that is current today. Now, with enablement, with the version 4.16, you can enable the new look and feel, which is what's on the right. So I'm going to go through the new look and feel today, which comes with Teams rooms on Windows. So what I just showed you was the touch panel. I'll get to the touch panel in a minute, but also there's a change to what is actually displayed on the 1 or 2 TVs that you have in your Teams room. So previously with Windows Teams rooms, you would come in and you would just see the background image and the date and time, or the time I should say. However, now they've included the ability to show the actual calendar on the TV, not only on the touch panel, but also on the TV. So you can see whether you've got a meeting that is current, meeting that's coming up, or what's going on in that meeting room today. So this is the new look and feel of the Teams rooms on the TV. Now this must be enabled by configuration. So if you want to know how to enable this via configuration, please let me know, put your hand up, but it's also included in some of these slides. I've actually included some URLs on the slides. So you have the ability at the far end, you should be able to click on these links in the slides, and that will open up some URLs on your PC. So if you want a little bit deep dive into what I'm presenting today, you can click on those links. So that's what's displayed on the TV and what you should experience on the new look and feel. And the biggest change is more so what's on the touch panel. So the touch panel is typically on the table. It's not always on the table, but it's typically on the table. And this is how you control your PCs. You control your rooms. Now, typically you would have a meeting, and you can see here the daily scrum is at 10 o'clock. And you can click join, one touch join, and that's the experience that everyone wants. Schedule your meeting, walk into the room, click join, and you're away. You've got voice and video up and going without having to do too much. That's the simplest and the easiest way to do it. If you don't have a scheduled meeting in the room, but you walk in the room and the room's available, so you walk in there at 9 a.m., you can click meet now, or the meet button. That starts a meeting straight away and joins the room. You then have the normal interface where you can add participants from the touch panel. So you can invite Justin or Sam or Dan into the room just using the touch panel right in front of you. So that's used for ad hoc meetings where you haven't scheduled the room, but you've noticed the room's available, or you walk past and you think, oh, I just want to have a quick meeting with a couple of people and I'll use the room because it's free. So ad hoc meeting is where you use the meet, what I call the meet now button. It's now been relabeled meet. The share experience has been improved a little bit in somewhat. So if you now click the share button, it'll actually show and tell you a bit more information. Do you want to share the HDMI cable, or do you want to share content that's automatically connected to the HDMI cable? So a little bit better user experience. A new feature that's coming is also join via ID. So what join via ID is that if you once again haven't scheduled the meeting, or potentially you might be in someone else's environment, you might have gone to a customer's environment or a public space where there's a Teams room, and you've got your own Teams meeting that you can't send the invite to the room. On your Teams meeting, there is now a meeting ID. So if you come into that room, click on this button, look at your Outlook, whether it be on your phone, on your laptop, type in the code, you can then join that meeting just by using that code. Very useful when you're in another customer's environment where you may or may not be able to send your meeting invite to that room, or you might not even know the email address of the room. So very useful when in that scenario there. Invite this room provides details and how to invite this room into the meeting. It's just a button that provides a little bit more help. And also now the calendar on not only on the TV but also on the touch panel shows more than 3 meetings. The previous experience, it only ever showed the next 3 meetings for that room, or the next meetings for that day that were less than 3. However, now it will show the complete day's meetings and give you the ability to scroll throughout the whole day to see what meetings are in that room for that day. Just pause there. Has anyone got any questions on the new Teams rooms on Windows interface? Perfect. I'll keep going. So now we're talking Teams rooms on Android. So I thought I did have an image in here, but anyway. The Teams room on Android is got a few new features in the last month, in March, and some big significant updates. So the one of the biggest ones is the layout of the screen. So if you have a single or a dual screen Android MTR, such as a Poly X50 or a Poly X30 or Yealink Android X30, A30 I should say, you can now enable what's called front row. So this is a layout change. So what it does is it put the pictures and of the people's video at the bottom of the screen and puts the content or the presenter, the spotlight video at the top of the screen. So and shows chat and raised hands. So it's a very good layout for a very interactive meeting. So that now Android MTRs support that as of March. The join via ID, so I just spoke about that on Windows, that's also now available in Android MTRs. Side chat in other meeting layouts. So in different meeting layouts, potentially you can have the chat panel so that you can view the chat whilst in the room. Sort of kind of give the experience back to the people that are in the room. So typically if you're sitting at home, there's sometimes potentially 2 meetings going on. The meeting where people are on video and chatting and talking, but then also so in the chat window, there's another chat going on about either the topic or something else. And sometimes you may not be able to focus on both or, and do that whilst you're in the room. Now you've got the ability to pull up the chat so you can see what's going on in the room as well as keeping an eye on the video. HDMI audio. And so this is a big one in terms of especially using Android Teams rooms to inject audio in the room. And the big use case here is if you bring your laptop into the room, you plug the HDMI cable in and you want to play a YouTube video from your laptop into the meeting room so that it comes on the TV and comes through the speakers. You couldn't do that before March with an Android MTR room. You now have the capability to do that. So it's and also inject audio into the meeting. So if you want to inject a video with audio into the meeting, you can now do that with an Android MTR. So it was one of the features that a lot of people were calling out for, and it's now possible with the March update on Android for Teams rooms. The Meet Now experience with Android, it used to be different to the Windows team. It's now what it used to be is Meet Now. It would bring up a search bar for people, and then you'd have to type the first person's name in and then invite them, and it would then start a meeting. As opposed to the Windows room, if you hit the join button, the meet button I should say, it would start a meeting and then you invite people in. The Android experience is now exactly the same as the Windows. When you click the Meet button, it starts a meeting and you just invite people to it. So you can start to see that this front row, the Join via ID, the Meet Now, and the HDMI audio in, the Android and Teams Windows rooms are becoming very, very similar. And now that the look and feel is the same, as in the user interface, you need to turn it on, obviously, but now that the user interfaces are the same, they're getting closer and closer to feature parity with Android rooms and Teams rooms. And from a user perspective, that's really good because you don't need to understand whether it is Windows or Teams. You just want to walk in, click join, and do what you need to do in the meeting room. Now, the purpose of that one last feature is the whiteboard button. So on Android MTRs with touchscreens, you have the ability to now have a whiteboard button on the touchscreen itself. So what that means is that you can walk up and hit the whiteboard button and just do an in-room whiteboard session. So use the Android MTR with a touchscreen just as a digital whiteboard. And then from that digital whiteboard, you can just choose to do an in-room whiteboard session, or you can then start a meeting from the whiteboard and share that whiteboard and do two-way whiteboarding into a Teams room. So it really does bring the functionality potentially equal of a service hub into an Android MTR. And, there's lots of scenarios where you can do this and make this, cost effective on a trolley with an Android MTR. So you could add as an example an X50 on a trolley with a touchscreen, or Neat and Yealink have all-in-one boards where you can just use it on a trolley and use these then as either as a digital whiteboard for two-way whiteboarding or as a meeting room with digital whiteboarding. So good capabilities there. There's my screen, and there, no, it's not very clear, but there is the whiteboard button here so that you walk up and click the whiteboard button on the Android MTR. But you can see the Android MTR looks and feels the same now as the Windows MTR, and that was sort of what I was trying to allude to here. What I wanted to just finish off with quickly is there is another, now I'll move away from Teams meeting rooms, there is actually what a physical device known as a Teams display devices. So several vendors make these, including Neat, Yealink, Lenovo made one initially, and more vendors, Crestron make them as well. More vendors are bringing these out day by day. These are usually personal devices in terms of in a small 1 to 2 person meeting space or in a little telephone booth style hub where you can use it as solely as a meeting device, or if you want to, now they've brought out a virtual front desk. So this is the Neat frame, and you can buy a shared Microsoft license on this and basically set it up as a virtual receptionist. So this is call everyone or call reception, so that someone walks in without having a receptionist, they can click on this button. This might be just mounted to the wall outside the door, and it will call the response, the call queue that the reception is part of. Another option is that you can set it up into hot desking mode, and if you set up in hot desking mode, you can have a QR code to help you sign in, so that you walk in with your device, you get your mobile out, you scan the QR code, and then put in your credentials to sign into Office 365, and then your meetings come to that device, and then you can click the one-touch join to the meeting you've been invited to, and use that in your space as your device for a period of time. So hot desking on Teams display devices or virtual front desk on some of these Teams display devices is available now. Well, I think, Dan, that is it from me. So if anyone's got any questions, feel free to come off mute, raise your virtual hand, ask away.
On that. Thank you very much. We'll be hanging around. Adrian, you've got a question? Or are you just stretching? Adrian's not even there. That's all good. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day. Stick around if you've got any questions.